This has been a very powerful project, and as we come to a place where the work is not done, the work is still ever present, but as it's nearing the end, I'm thinking, wow, we did something, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to do anything. I just feel so proud, you know. I think I said it already, but this group is really special, and it will never happen again the way that it happened this year with this group of people. And I think I just feel really proud. And yeah, it was emotional though. I mean, and exciting. I mean, they kept saying to me, this feels so different. This feels so different. You know, we're performing with no one in the theater. I'm asking them to dance so big with no one watching except for the four of us. And they did it, you know? So I'm happy. You know, the curtain is closed and they took their final bows, and that was it. So watching them on stage was everything to me, because I didn't know if that would ever happen this year, and it was very emotional. I cried.
I feel complete, like my senior year has been complete. Like even if I didn't get to do anything else, prom, graduation or whatnot, I still wanted to dance at Fort Hays at least one more time, be on the stage with the lights at least one more time. That's all I was hoping for from the beginning of the school year.
really happy I got to do something. I really thought, I'm like, there's no way that I could.
I'm mostly proud of myself for being able to like stick to something and like do good and like be around people who are
Oh, good morning. So we have a small crew today, so we are not going to be voting. We have two of us, so not voting. But I'll call to the meeting to order for August 24th, 2023, Nsdp. Minutes, can't approve anything, so.
Right, similar to last time, so.
Yep, minutes, can't approve, discussion, nothing, so I guess we'll just move straight to action items, and we'll just review them and
Yep,
go
fantastic.
again.
So I will, real quick before we hop into the action items, I do just kind of want to give a couple shout outs. So yesterday was first day of school. Incredibly exciting to see some of our most impactful projects we've done yet to date open to students and staff. So our Hamilton STEM reopened yesterday. Really exciting to see the clap in and the ribbon cutting that the principal planned there for his students. But that's certainly just the highlight. We had many other projects that we successfully completed across the district. So just want to give a shout out to my team and certainly to our custodial team who cleans up all the mess that our team leaves behind and making sure that those spaces are ready for our staff to come back and teach. And so with that, we will hop into item 4.01. I'm going to go ahead and let Brandy start this one. So hopefully she'll make it not confusing, but we issued one RFQ that incorporated a couple different projects together. And so Brandy will lead this one off, and then she'll hand it off to my PMs for each of the individual contracts.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will go through action items 4.01, 4.02, and 4.03. Each of the project managers will take over each of those, but I will start it off. So here is the agenda. So we have a copy of the advertisement, which notes the architect of record for the entry and storefront, engineer of record for fire alarm upgrades, architect or landscape architect for playground upgrades, and the criteria engineer for HVAC upgrades. And this advertisement will be dispatched. Here is the advertisement that we placed on the district website, noting the same 4 items, when the Zoom meeting was, and when the items will be due. Here is the request for qualifications, the informational meeting agenda with all of the interview schedules and board approval dates. So, and the sign-in sheet as well. We had a pretty good turnout. And this shows the contracts, the working contracts for the criteria architect, which is 24011, and the contract for 24008 and 24010. So I will hand it over to Kurt, and he will go through his project, which is project 24011. That is the criteria engineer services to M engineering for HVAC improvements.
All right, thank you, Brandy. Can everybody hear me fine?
Yes.
Perfect, thanks. So again, this is our RFQ here. Kind of gives the information for our HVAC improvements, and this will just be similar to some of the other projects that we've done. Multiple sites, limited scope in each of those sites. Our published budget is 6.5 to 8.5. And there you go. And so up top here, we have our scoring breakdown of all the firms that submitted. So AEC, IMEG, and M Engineering were the shortlisted firms. To the bottom left, you have your statement of qualifications for M Engineering, and they've partnered with Core Services. And then on the bottom right is our letters. So we have our shortlisted firms on the bottom and then all the firms on top there. So up top, we have our score sheet here. As you can see, M Engineering was the low number. It's like golf, low number wins on this one. And then we have our congrats and regrets letters to, congrats to M Engineering and regrets to AEC and IMEG. Here's our legislation. So the dollar amount is $380,000 with the budget source being permanent improvement, some ESSER funding, and life cycle renewal funding. Here is our LEDE form. They've committed to 20% LEDE, and it has been signed by Terry Wise. That'll take us to any questions.
Questions? And I'll note that the technical oversight's reviewed and approved last week.
Saw that, yep.
Just one thing I will mention, you know, so somebody might ask, I don't understand, or help me understand. So the district now has one non-air conditioned building that's already under contract. Like, I don't understand why there would be the need for this much additional mechanical work. And so we really very much need to focus or refocus our efforts. And I realize I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I want to make sure that our public certainly understands. So at this point, we probably have several thousand compressors that are busily humming away today, making sure our buildings stay cool. And so I don't expect that we'll have any wholesale projects in this project. It's going to be a lot more component-based. So we've got a number of boilers that are aging out and need replaced. They're just not as reliable. Again, with thousands of compressors, you know, a couple dozen of them are probably going to die each month. And so it's just a matter of kind of really retuning into that life cycle renewal phase. I would expect that we're going to see some incremental improvements in performance. Maybe we'll see some controls work into this, but it's really just kind of sustaining all those systems that we've already built now.
What's the estimate for the life cycle of a compressor now? What do you guys budget for with those?
So it's a great question. To be completely honest, it's something we're kind of still working through ourselves. But I also don't know that it's a fixed number because it very much depends on the piece of equipment. And I'll give you a real life example. So we're now using VRF, variable refrigerant flow, to both heat and cool buildings. So it's a true heat pump system. So that compressor is going to run 365 days a year, whether it's heating or cooling. Versus we also have buildings that have traditional compressors that are just running for cooling, and they rely on boilers for heating. And so it very much depends on, you know, so there's some quality differences based on what you originally purchased.
Right.
There's some differences based on the equipment and whether it's running all year long or just for cooling. And honestly, that's a big area of improvement for us to make sure we're really tracking kind of the health, the life, the age of equipment so that we can more accurately kind of forecast that kind of work.
Yeah.
Right now, admittedly, we're kind of triaging and going to systems as they're failing or as our technicians are telling us, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this piece of equipment. Can we take a look at replacing this?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
That makes sense.
What action do we need to take or anything since we're not really voting?
So the most would be if you're inclined to say that you've reviewed it and that you're in support of, and then we can just move on to the next.
Yep. If everyone who's in support of this, going back to the board, say aye.
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 Great.
Fantastic. So with that, we will move on to 4.02. And I know Lori is on the line, but I also know she is mobile right now dealing with some issues. So hopefully Lori can pick up for 4.02.
This is going to be challenging because I'm literally sitting in my car as the rain pounds down on it. So
you're good
right
now,
Lori.
Lori.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. This is for an entry storefront and windows upgrade package. We have about $2.1 million in construction dollars to replace aging, failing doors, entry doors, and related side lights and possibly some windows across the district. This is the RFQ for the project. We own, yes, BBCO Design Group and Triad Architects were our shortlist. There's a copy of design group statement of qualification and a copy of the shortlist letter. Here is the scoring from the interview. Again, low score wins. And the regrets letters, the regrets and congratulations letters. Design group was our winner. Their dollar amount for their contract is $203,700. This is the legislation. It's a combination of permanent improvements, ESSER, and life cycle renewal funding. Here is their LEDE statement. They are committing to 20%, and here is their signed off by Terry. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions? And technical oversight approved last week.
No questions for me.
Yeah, just a similar commentary. So while we were able to make a lot of security vestibule upgrades, most of the time we did not touch the exterior storefronts. So now we have a lot of new storefronts inside our buildings and still the old, many cases not original, but maybe 1970s or 80s storefronts on the exterior. So number one, they look terrible. Number two, they're not very weather tight at this point, even if they are still securing. But the other thing is that, I don't know if people think about this, but our doors probably go through several thousand cycles every single day. It's not a lot different from retail or even a hospital environment, and so they're just worn out. And so this is really a chance to upgrade those exteriors. They really will kind of refreshen the appearance, the first look at our buildings. We also have a couple buildings that still have old single pane windows, and so we're going to explore trying to do some very selective window replacement in this package as well.
Nice.
So with that, those in approval of sending to the board for 24008. Signify aye.
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 Great. Moving on to 4.03, Brandy is going to take this one, but I'll go ahead and lead in with the backstory on this one. So this summer we did our first playground replacement project outside of new construction and, of course, doing a new playground. Obviously, kids are just getting back into those sites, but the response back from staff and the community has just been overwhelming. Really positive feedback to see these new play structures in place. And so our intention is just to repeat. So number one, the district has already established a standard. So it'll be essentially, unless there's some extenuating circumstance, it'll be the same pre-K or early childhood set, and then there's a primary set, and depending on the need at each building, they may get one or the other, or in some cases both. But our intention is to standardize this play set and just to continue to implement it as long as funding is available. So I'll let Brandy take it from there.
I will be discussing award of contract for professional services to Triad Architects for the playground upgrades project at multiple sites. So here is a little bit of a background. The total budget is 4.5 to 5.25 million. The estimated construction budget is 2.1 to 2.7 million. And we were looking for an architect or landscape architect of record. We actually only received one statement of qualifications on this project, so this one was easy. We didn't have to review anybody else's, so they technically got this one. And this is from Triad. They will be using OA Spencer as their LEDE support for architectural support. Here is their legislation noting $158,500, and it is a mix of permanent improvement, ESSER funding, and life cycle renewal funding. And here is their LEDE Form A, signed by Terry Wise with a 20% goal. Again, they will be using OA Spencer to meet their LED goal. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Nope.
I know this was reviewed previously by technical oversight, but it was not last week. All those in favor of sending the project 24010 to the board in support of that?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you.
Great, that takes us to 4.04, and I'll give you a little backstory on this as well, and then Lori will take it over. So you might remember on our facility task force project where we renovated the old North High School to be the new Dominion Middle School home. So we ran short on money to be able to replace all the windows on that building. So they're a historic replica window, so quite expensive. So we had to not do the windows on the north facade of the building, which is the one that you see the least. It's also the one that gets the least of the weathering. But with the availability of some funding, we really thought it was important to get that last facade of windows replaced. It'll take care of all the windows on that building, and I think we're maybe 3 years out of when we did the original windows, so we can still get a good match. And so from a life cycle renewal standpoint, we'll be able to cross that project off the list for at least another 30 or so years. So with that, I will hand it over to Lori.
Okay. Really, computer. Well, maybe this is gonna work. Here- Here's a copy of the advertisement that was on the website. Oh, this was the agenda and the sign-in sheets. We had pretty good coverage. Here is our bid tabulation. Miles McClellan was our low bidder and actually came in under estimate. Here is the architect of record recommendation letter. Here's the legislation for $945,000. Here's their working contract. And here is the LEDE form signed and approved by Terry. Technically, this is 100% LEDE because Miles McClellan is a LEDE firm, but they are going to work with Ohio Technical Services to get any abatement done. Are there any questions?
Any questions? And we did approve this last week at technical oversight.
Sounds good.
Okay. Everyone in support of sending this to the board for 24001, say aye.
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 All right, that takes us to 4.05, and again, this one is going to be Lori, and again, just for some backstory on this one. So we have been very focused on infrastructure work at our school facilities, and with the vast majority of that work kind of caught up at this point, we really do need to start focusing on some of our central office buildings, and so this is a roof replacement for the 17th Avenue Service Center. Also a little interesting in that I think everybody's seeing challenges in the marketplace, but we actually put this project out for bid earlier this year. Not an aggressive schedule at all. It's not a school site, so it was a pretty easy contract that we thought would attract good interest. We didn't get any bidders. So we're actually kind of pivoting on this one as well, and we're looking at one of our job order contracting options to be able to get this roof done because frankly it needs to get done. So.
Yeah.
With that, I'll let Lori take over.
But one question, Alex.
Yeah.
So a facility like this, what is it? It's a service center, but what's it used for?
So it is a combination of a bunch of things, but I would say that it's probably 60 to 75% offices. So it houses my office. It houses our PAR, which is professional. I'm losing what the acronym stands for. It's got our professional licensure, so it's a lot of support services for our teaching staff.
Gotcha.
It houses our safety and security team, our purchasing team, our custodial team. Our buildings and grounds is completely operated out of this site, so it has all their offices, as well as their wood shop, their metalsmith shop, their paint shop, their electronics shop.
You're saying this is an important building.
It is. It might be. I mean, it's my building as well, so you know,
Sure,
I
sure.
maybe do take it a little bit personally, but it is probably, you know, outside of transportation and food service, it is our primary service center
Yeah.
district.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
So we are asking for authorization to enter into a contract to Garland, with Garland and their design build service thing. Here is their proposal. The cost is estimated not to exceed $1,650,000. It is a big building. It is a combination of permanent improvement and life cycle renewal funds. Here is their LED participation thing. They are anticipating 25 to 30% of the cost will be in LED services, and here is Terry Wise's sign off. Do we have any questions?
Any additional questions? No. No. Technical oversight did approve last week as well. So with that, wording escapes me every single time, but the going towards support of the project 2403 to the board, signify aye.
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 Thank you. So that'll take us to 4.06, and Brandy will take this one, but again, I'll give you a little bit of backstory on this one. So this is some renovations to our Moeller Transportation Center, and I don't think it's not the newest thing, but this past year maybe was one of our more challenging years with transportation and just the number of calls that were coming in. And so what our transportation team has done has been to kind of reorganize their staffing, bring on additional staffing, and so there is the need to reconfigure that space to house more routers, as well as more call staff, and to be able to let them flexibly manage that workload. And so these are some renovations to that building, as well as some HVAC upgrades to support it as well.
So this is action item 4.06, which is award of general contract to Les Mechanical for the Mobile Transportation Center. So here we have the job order contract proposal from Gordian in contract with Les for $1,211,000. We have the legislation. We put in a not to exceed number of 1.225 million. And we have their LEDE Form A. Les plans to utilize the Farber Corporation to meet their 20% LEDE goal, and this is signed by Terry Wise. Do we have any questions?
So what all is being done on this project? I wasn't clear on that, sorry.
So I'll take that one.
Oh, okay.
So it's an old school building that's been converted into the transportation center. So you can imagine it's a lot of maybe like 800 square foot classroom spaces.
Sure.
Most of them were set up as just completely open office when we converted it into the transportation center. So it's a combination of connecting some rooms so they can operate as bigger spaces. It's creating some offices so that there's the ability to have supervisors who can, you know, do things offline and not everybody's hearing everything.
Right.
And then just kind of reconfiguring the open office. There's also a couple areas that were really never totally finished, so they were more kind of like storage areas, and now they're being more completely finished to operate as office space as well as like dedicated storage. So there's some real compliance issues that we need to manage in terms of all the testing and all of the certifications that bus drivers need to have. And so they are managing all that on site right now in not the best possible way. So we're kind of really reorganizing the space to much better serve those needs now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, technical oversight approved last week as well. With that, in support of sending this to the board for 24006, signify by aye.
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 Great, and that will take us to our last item, which is going to be Lori again on 4.07, but I'll give you just a little bit of backstory on this one. So 4.07 is a little unique for us, so we have never attempted in one contract to get this many roofing projects done, and certainly not using design build. So while design build is typically chosen with an amendment after selection of the design builder, we've done many of our contracts with the GMP at selection, which has mostly worked out pretty well for us. But this project, because of the aggressive schedule for it, we took kind of a hybrid approach. So we entered into contract with a GMP at selection, with also the understanding that there would be a GMP amendment so that we could tackle additional projects. So that kind of working with our criteria engineer, criteria architect, we were able to get enough projects through the criteria phase that we could get a GMP at selection. But we also kind of gave them some additional runway to complete the criteria after we awarded. And so what you're seeing now is the GMP amendment to pick up additional sites.
Okay, this is 4.07, contract amendment number 1 to Prodigy Building Solutions for roof replacement on multiple sites, project 24004. Here is their proposal, totaling $13,303,787.02 for about a dozen schools. Here is the legislation, which is a combination of ESSER funds and life cycle renewal. Here is the draft of the contract. And do you have any questions?
Any questions? And this was approved by technical oversight last week.
So this is a $13 million increase in the construction cost, or with
Correct.
obviously a larger scope. I mean, I understand that, but so it's a little over $1 million per site. Is that about the price tag on the original contract too? Have we seen an increase in pricing on that, or is that pretty much what we're seeing?
No, it's pretty consistent. Obviously, the price varies depending on the size of the
Sure.
schools. I have a couple of them that while they have work that's important, it is smaller in scale, shall we say. So some of them are a little more, some of them are a little less.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, another thing I'll point out too is that we've chosen to put some of our most vexing roof problems into this mix because this procurement seems to give us the most flexibility to kind of navigate solutions that we can, number one, actually accomplish, but we can also afford. And so I'll give you one very real life experience. So I keep seeing the flyover of Fort Hayes showing up on the video that's running. So if you're familiar with the shot tower, so there is, of course, a roof at the top of that shot tower, and it is leaking, and there is no way to get to it. So I think it's about a 4-story tower, and the building around it has a pitched roof, and there is no ladder to get up to it, so we literally can't maintain it. And so working with the design builder and our criteria team, we were able to figure out how to navigate the most high-quality roof we can afford, because frankly, there's no practical way to get to it short of a major lift, which is very costly. And so while it's a very small roof, it will come at a fairly steep price tag because we want to put the highest quality roof on that we can afford because we don't want to have to mess with it again for a while.
Right.
Versus some of the other projects are just much more straightforward roofs. And so again, at least in my mind, this is a good procurement option for us to kind of negotiate projects that are not the most straightforward. It's also great for regular projects too, but it certainly gives us some flexibility that we're not used to.
Sure. No, that's great.
With that, in support of approval, in support to send this to the board for project number 24004, signify by aye.
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 And that completes
you.
our agenda for
Thank you.
today, at least the formal part of our action items.
Yep. Do we have anyone from the board or the superintendents for any comment? And with that, I would say motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. Good. Thank you all. Have a good day.